And the International Air Transport Association, ITA, says that air travel in Nigeria and other African countries grew by 34.7% in February 2022. ITA's record shows that Africa posted a strong rebound in February 2022 compared to January 2022. Mr. Tayo Jury, the managing director of Aglo Aviation Support Services Limited, speaks to the details and the implication of this. Joins us, is here in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Ojiri. Good to have you in the studio.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so when we say that the aviation sector is recovering at such a time as this, it sounds like it's contradictory.
It's not contradictory, but if you look at that report, it's February. The geopolitical issue started mid-February.
So, late February, 24th, I
yes, exactly. So it was right after everything picked up. And look at the January numbers. The January numbers actually moved up because we had lots of end of season, which is one of the peak periods. The Christmas, New Year's season is a major period for air travel. So with that, you've seen lots of movement between January and February. And don't forget, we're just getting out of COVID. So there are lots of reduction and opening up gradually. We have actually tried to understand and master COVID-19 and all the variants, Omicron. So there were opening up of restrictions. So that actually opened up travel numbers and air travel over time. January, you see numbers move up in February. And then we had a damper. You see the numbers in March are going to go down. Not because I said so, but because the reality of what has happened with the geopolitical issues, for us in Nigeria, the forex increase. For us in Nigeria, we see the challenges with the price increase in domestic flights as well. So all those affect the March numbers, and then we're going to see a reduction.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to say, if we're to look at, well, not looking to the future, just tell us what you think would be the figure for March. I don't think it will look that good because this was the period we had the threats to shut down by aviation stakeholders. This was the period we've had, I mean, even things like what happened in Kaduna and all that. So you have airlines not going to Kaduna. This, of course, is going to affect the overall figures at the end of the day.
Yes. There are lots of driving factors. We look at them individually. Obviously, you did highlight the security challenges. Over and beyond that, we have underlying economic issues, which is one, the inflation and supposedly hyperinflation, where we're actually seeing 13.3% inflation rate, which is actually higher on the streets. And you have lots of increase in the fuel, not just aviation fuel, which moved from about 190, hovered from about 190 to about 700, now at fixed about 500 to 505. 505 naira per liter.
Who's paying for that? I've been meaning to find
out. The passenger would have to pay for it.
No, so, who's paying for? I mean, it's now fixed. It's supposed to be 700, I think, because it's a fully deregulated market.
Yes.
So now it's being fixed. So who is paying for that difference between 700 and 5? Because if not, it will come back to haunt us at the end.
Yes. So I wasn't at that meeting, but it was a meeting between the marketers, NNPC, and the airline operators of Nigeria. And so it's been able to cushion the effect on the traveling public. But the truth is, from where it was and to where we are now, that price has increased. And it's actually, who would eventually pay for it is the traveling passenger. You've seen the travel tickets increase significantly. And with that, we've seen a drop in travel market. So within domestic travel market, we've seen lots of trapped funds for international airlines still trapped in Nigeria to the tune of about $283 million. So with that all set together, that's going to affect us within Nigeria in the next quarter, because we find out that the price of Jet A1 would impact on the increase in flight ticket. We're going to see the price of tickets itself, because we still have that one underlying factor, which is the sourcing of forex.
That remains a
big
for
challenge
the industry,
for us, because 70% of all our operations are domiciled in forex. So we still have those factors. Now, with the cost inflation, which is the reality in Nigeria, is affecting the cost of operations for most companies. So how many of these companies would actually be sending people to travel? that's going to reduce, and we're going to see that number, which is going to affect domestic travel in the next quarter. But having said that, we still see some lights. The light in the sense that we see the fact that it's an election year. There are lots of travel, there are lots of movement. So we see that trying to actually override what is existing. Over and beyond that, we see the fact that there is a lot of, we saw last week or early this week, we saw that the extension of the 2020 budget.
Budget, yeah, to May, the end of May.
So with that money
how
coming
does that affect you? How is that a good news for the industry?
It's good news for the aviation because our triangular route, which is Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, is driven domestic. And what drives that traffic is government business. So once there's more money within the circulation, you have people going in to sign their contracts, you have people going to sign business, you have increase in FDI, foreign direct investments, you have lots of transactions which actually pushes up the travel market. Because if you look at over time and what happens for us, what the reality, the foundation is for us within the travel segment within Nigeria is the fact that 80 to 90% of our travel market on this route are business driven. It's not driven by visiting families. Yes, you have what you call visiting families and friends, where you're going to visit someone for vacation or just a life-changing event. You're going for that party. All that matters, but it's not the driver on this route. So with that government spending, it's going to increase the movement on that, supposedly supposed to be increase that movement on that route, on those routes.
Okay, so we know that in the UK, in Asia at this time, COVID has once again become a topic. Yes. But back here in Nigeria, we just had the Secretary of Federal Government, announce some easing of restriction, travel restriction, less tests, COVID test and other measures. How do you see this impacting activities in the industry, in the aviation?
It's long overdue, I must tell you. Long overdue. We want to come back to normal. Because normal...
Well, yes, is it time to come back to normal, I guess?
Well, maybe I should say the new normal. The new normal is, yes, have yourself jabbed, have yourself taken your COVID vaccines, and have the first, second, and supposedly the third. Having taken that, it doesn't stop you from having it, but you're kind of you're prevented. You're in that cycle, that cocoon of not being able to catch it. So what now that opens for us is you have the restrictions opening up, and it's not just Europe. You have Middle East, Dubai has opened up. You have Europe, you have North America, Canada dropped the restrictions on the 1st of April. So that helps movement. And don't forget that this actually affected lots of economies across the world. And right after that, right at the back of COVID happening, now we're having the geopolitical Russia-Ukraine war. That's affected cargo as well, and even the Europe to Asia movement, because the travel has to go over Russia. So you have lots of diversion to go over Russia, and that's costing more money in travel, costing travel tickets. But all those things are making people wanting to come back to reality, in the sense that we've seen the numbers. We looked at the travel tickets that have been bought for summer, which is another high point for us within the aviation sector. We've seen that lots of people have bought tickets for summer travel, which is actually good because the global reservation system shows that the bookings are confirmed, and it actually helps the travel sector revamp. But we still have the challenge within mainland China and Shanghai, which is closed due to COVID issues.
Yeah. Well, you know, with the war, I heard a lot of analysis, especially in the Western world, of how planes have to take different routes to avoid Russia airs and all, Russia skies and all that. For us in Nigeria, how has that impacted us?
It's not really impacted. For us, domestic routes are still domestic routes, but we just have we still have the increase on international flights coming in, the normal passengers, and you just find out our passengers that come into Nigeria, the international segments, is actually driven business and lots of Nigerians in diaspora. lots of Nigerians. So when you look at that, about 17, 18 million Nigerians in diaspora, there are people coming in at every point in time for a life-changing event or for some things that, for investment in Nigeria, and just to actually have that affinity that draws them back to Nigeria. So you still have lots of foreign movement into Nigeria, in the sense that now we have two U.S. Airlines, legacy airlines. It used to be one prior, it used to be Delta. Now we have Delta and United coming into Nigeria, which shows that there's traffic, and they're building that traffic. And you have the oil as well. Oil has been a major driver for that movement as well. So all that's affecting it, and obviously we believe things will pick up in the second quarter for the international traffic.
So when you say that we have, of course, the diaspora coming back home, but you did mention that most of our travel seems to be related to business, or is that the domestic travel?
The domestic.
Okay.
The domestic.
Then the international is more of...
The demography of those is more of, you have business at about 60, well, I would say 50-50. You have the...
That's for the international travels.
You have the business as well as the, what you call the visiting family as friend, VFR.
Okay. So some month, I think it ended in March,
yes,
where the government gave a concession where businesses can pay some of their debts that are owed in dollars in foreign exchange. They could pay in Naira. Was that extended to the aviation sector?
No. And you find that even your suppliers and you would not, service providers would not accept Naira because it's dollarized. It's a global phenomenon. And they accept most of you signed that contract in Naira. Sorry, in dollars.
In dollars.
Your lease are signed in dollars. So all the maintenance, your spares are bought in Naira. Your trainings are domiciled in dollars. So you have to make that payment in dollars. So that actually puts the domestic travel market, travel operators in a very dire condition because they have to source their dollars at a very high rate, either at the parallel market because they're not getting adequate funding for the request that they've put into CBN. So how long will they be able to sustain their operations at this rate? It leaves so much to ask for.
All right. So finally now, what's your outlook? I think you touched on it. Your outlook as we start the second quarter. What's your outlook for the second quarter?
As we look at second quarter, looking at the crystal ball, we see that it's going to be comme ça, in the sense that, yes, the dollar is still going to be a very huge determining factor. Fuel prices are still going to be high for us, which is affecting, those two things affect operations, flight operations, a lot. And it's going to affect the number of equipment that goes out that are able to come in. So we have few equipment, high cost of travel, reduced passenger traffic. It's not going to be good for domestic traffic. Now, on the international side, we have lots of money for international airlines still stuck in Nigeria. With that, it's going to increase the cost of tickets being purchased out of outbound Nigeria. With that ticket passenger, it's going to reduce those traveling outside of Nigeria, except you have a very pressing need. So you find that people would actually, it's good for domestic market, domestic tourism, and domestic hospitality, but it's going to affect the outbound travel and even international airlines coming in to take back their money out. So overall, comme ci, comme ça.
Comme ci, comme ça. And how's this airlines, that have stopped going to Kaduna, how's that affecting us?
It's affecting the passengers because now you have that traffic, not just the passengers that need to move, you have goods that need to move, you have those that are actually tied into that economic value chain actually are now out of jobs. So it's actually affecting lots of other, not just the airlines, just all the other value chains within that system. So I don't know when they're going to start back because they have to be reassured. And this affects the insurance, by the way. The insurance premium, the risk. So with all this said, they have to ensure that this is put in place and they're reassured of when they can start back the operations.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tayo Jiri, Managing Director of Glow Aviation Support Services Limited. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
It's my pleasure.
So that was the aviation. When we come back, well, we did touch a little bit on the issue of insecurity. This time, we'll speak to the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They've been talking a lot about that. We'll find out their perspective after the break. This is Business Morning on Channels Television.